Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are tackling one of JavaScript most confusing concept, the this keyword. If you have ever written code where this didn't point to what you expect, this video is for you. Understanding this keyword is essential for professional JavaScript development. For the end of this video, you will know exactly how this keyword work in different context. So let's dive in. In JavaScript, this is a keyword that refers to the context in which a function is executed. The key things to understand, this is determined by how a function is called, not where it's defined. Here is the simple example. Const person name equal Sarah. Then create. This is another function. Okay. So suppose this function console log hello, my name is space, then concatenation, then this dot name. Okay, that means now if we execute this person 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 with dot notation great, and if we console log it, then we see, open the terminal, run. Now you see this is actually referred to the person object. So here is the things. If what happen if const read function fn equal this, just calling this, okay, only this, and then call this read fn. Okay, now console log again, you see same function, different result. This is why understanding this is crucial. Okay, so the second, that's why the second question is the four binding rules, because there are four rules that determine what these point to. First is default binding, that are fallback when nothing else applies. Second is implicit binding, method call on an object. Thirdly, explicit binding, and this is using call, apply, or bind. And thirdly is new binding. That means the constructor, function, and classes. Okay, so let's explore each one. First is default binding. Actually, the default binding is a fallback in regular function. This refers to the global function like window in browser. In strict mode, it's undefined. It means when you create a function, show this, the name, function name, and console log this, only this. Okay, and then you are uh, execute this, show this function. That's it. What it does to check, it's referring the window object. You see the object from global. Actually, this is window object or undefined in strict mode. Okay, this is the window object, and is commonly causes issue with the fallback actually. Like if you are trying to do something, const user equal that name Mike, then hobbies something array, in this array reading, then gaming. Okay, then the show hobbies function, just a function. Okay, in this function, maybe not like that. Use this function. Uh, no problem. Just whatever you want. This is the old way. Okay, this is the regular function, old way. So now if we use this, you see we already get the three result: hobbies, name, show hobbies. Notice this hobbies is the okay. It should be a smaller with the lowercase. Now hobbies, we get the access from this hobbies. Then for each. Okay, in this for each, we are using the callback function. Okay, this callback function have a parameter hobby. Just console log that these dot name. Okay, these dot name, then space likes concatenation concatenation concat with plus hobby. Okay, open the console and just comment it. We don't need this. Clear the console. Now run. Okay, something is not working. We didn't call this function, right? Actually, you see nothing showing here except the function, because this is a function. It's okay because this is undefined. That's why it's not showing anything here. So the explicit binding is implicit. Okay, implicit binding happen when you call a method or an object. The rule, these refer to the object before the dot. Okay, suppose we already check this, right? We already see when we console log this one. Just use this. Understood this. Suppose this is our function, right? We use this here, this keyword here, right? Now, if we call this function like that and console, okay, you see the first is coming. Okay, previously I think I didn't did anything, that's why it's just showing the function. But when we call the function for execution, it's execute the mic likes reading. Okay, but also showing the undefined. But it's okay if when we call this console log here, it actually refer this one. I mean, this is undefined here because it's not rendering anything. Okay, it's undefined, showing it's undefined. But uh, if we are using the implicit binding, this implicit binding happens when you call a method on the object. Okay, the rule is this refer to the object before the dot. Okay, so what is happening? Like if your console log here, console dot log the user dot this function and save it, open terminal, run. You see, it's actually render. Mike reading and Mike likes reading, Mike likes gaming. Okay, so it's workable right now when we are using the method as a method for this function. Okay, with the nested object, these refer to immediate parent. Okay, immediate parent. Like when we are using this function, and in this function, immediately without this one, like if we want this is the company, and we call the company employee for the nested object. Company employee get name. We actually get the Alice here because this get name, this get name return the this name, this immediate. Okay, immediate parent, not this one. So it's written the Alice, not the tech crop. But you can lose the binding. Okay, you actually lose the binding here because of this one. You check when you are calling the this function, when you are binding this product dot get price, it actually return the undefined. Actually you lost the binding. Okay, great. Now explicit binding. Explicit binding lets you manually set this usual call, apply or bind. Okay, like suppose this is your function. Okay, this is your function, and you also have an object. Suppose you also have a two object. One is person one, person two. Now you want to bind this. I mean, you want to bind this with call, apply or bind. Okay, so how to do that? Like introduce dot call. Okay, we are calling the person one, and person one, what it be? Hello. Okay, when you call this, and also the second one is apply. Suppose apply, the person will be the in array hello. Open terminal, run. You see it's written hello, I am John. Then hi, I am Emma. Because here we especially call this hi. So the first greeting would be a hi, then I am Anna. I am Anna. Emma and I am John. Okay. With the bind create a new function with this parameter, this permanently set. Like if you want to const introduce John, okay, and introduce dot bind the person one. Okay. Now if you call the introduce John with the uh, argument is hi or hey, and now run, you see, hey, I'm John. It actually binding this person one. Okay. This solve the callback function, actually callback problem also. Like if you are trying to solve something here, suppose you have a user this hobby with the function, you see, and we already call the call our user here, right? This is our function, the show hobbies, right? With this show hobby here, just calling the just binding it with this bind method and the execute with this keyword, and this is fixed. Now without undefined, you get the result. Suppose we comment this, okay, also comment this one, okay, also this one, okay. Now run. Okay, we didn't call the okay. We didn't console log it. That's why it's showing. Let's console log. Console log user dot show hobbies. Now run. Okay, maybe. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most confusing yet crucial concept in JavaScript, the this keyword. If you have ever written code where the this didn't point to what you expected, you are not alone. Understanding this is crucial for writing professional JavaScript code, particularly when working with the object event handler and the object oriented programming. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how these work in different contexts, and you will never be confused about it again. So let's jump right in. So what exactly is this? First question. In JavaScript, this is a special keyword that refers to the context in which a function is executed. Think of it as a reference to who is calling the function and where the function is being called from. The tricky part is the value of this isn't determined by where a function is defined. It's determined by how and where the function is called. This is what makes this dynamic and sometimes unpredictable. So let me show you a simple example. Suppose const person, this object name Sarah, then greet function. Okay, in this function, console log, um, console log this one. Hello, my name is this dot name. Now, when you are executing this function, I mean this object, this function get function, you get your result. Hello, my name is Sarah, right? Actually, here this refer to the person object. This actually refer to this person object, and because the get method is called on person, the context is the person object. Okay, but watch what happened if we do this. Just const get fl equal this. Okay, just calling this one, then create fn call. It actually return to you a undefined value. Undefined. It's not returning the exact value. It's return the undefined. Actually, it doesn't refer to person anymore. The person function, the same function but different behavior. This is exactly why understanding this. I mean, this is so important. So then, what is the role of this? There is a four rules for this binding. The first is default binding, when nothing else apply for default binding. Secondly, is implicit binding, when a method is called on an object. Thirdly, explicit binding using call, apply, or bind. And fourth is new binding when using a constructor function or classes. So let's go through each one with the example. First is the default binding. The default binding. The default binding is the fallback when no other rules apply. In this case, these refer to the global object. In browser, the global object is a window. In Node.js, it's global. But in strict mode, this will be undefined instead. This keyword actually. Let's use the example. You see the show. I mean show this and just only call this keyword. It actually refer to the browser window. I mean the Windows browser. Even return it. You see it's actually referring the global function. I mean global object. Okay. I mean window object. This is a window object for browser. Okay. So now let's see the strict mode. Suppose strict mode is different. For using the strict mode, we need to use this one, like use strict, like this. We must need to use this. Okay. Then we are calling the function if we want. Okay. Like this. This is the latest useful binding and often indicates a problem in your code. In modern JavaScript, we usually avoid relying on the default binding actually. Okay. So anyway, okay. Now here is the practical example of where this cause issue actually. The practical example is, check this one. There is a user. With the user, I mean this show hobbies function. There's this already applied, and you see undefined like reading is showing this here. Use the default binding. Okay, so it's showing the undefined like. Okay, inside the for each callback, this lose its context. Actually, in this for each context, actually for each loop, this actually lose the context. We will see how to fix this later. Don't worry. Okay, so next is implicit binding. Okay, implicit binding is the most common way this gets born. It happens when you call a method on an object using dot notation. The rule is simple. This refer to the object before the dot notation. I mean the before the dot. What it means? It means take this object with car dot get details. I mean this refer to the car, right? Because car dot get details. That's why. And so you see you get the exact result from here. Okay. Now let's look at the more complex example with the nested object. This is a nested object. Here is the interesting part. When we call the nested getName function, you see it's calling the Alice, not the take call portion. Take call. Why? Because these keyword refer to the immediate parent. Immediate parent is this name. That's why. Okay. So, but here is where it get tricky. Implicit binding can be lost. Can be lost something sometimes if we want like think this this product this get price actually return the this dot price. And what is the price actually? That means maybe you think this refer to the immediate parent, then this dot price actually would be the 1200, right? But the this function is no longer attached to the object, so it failed back to default binding. So it's written the undefined initially because we first call this function here, then we actually store this, then we execute this function, and that's why it's written the undefined. This is called losting the binding, and it happen all the time with callbacks. If you are using something set timeout, I mean the event listener, just think this is a button, and in this button there is a handle click, and we use this set timeout. Actually imagine this is an event listener. Just this set timeout is the event listener, and what we did, the button dot handle click with the dependency is the, I mean the time. The second parameter is the timeout. The second timeout is 1000 milliseconds. The button say undefined. This method is passed as a callback, losing this context. So just check, is it clearly given anything? You see, it's delay 1000 millisecond, then it's showing undefined. Also, Also this price function also return the undefined here. Okay. Okay. This is interesting. Okay. So now the implicit binding. Sometimes we want to implicit tell JavaScript what this should be. That's why the explicit. Sorry, this was the explicit binding. Actually, this explicit tell JavaScript what this should be. Right. That's where the explicit binding comes in. Using call, apply, or bind method. We will cover these methods in details in the next video. But here is the quick overview. Call method, actually we can call something. Um, this is our function. This is the person object. Then what we did with this function using the dot notation, I mean dot with call. This is the explicit binding. We are binding with the call method and calling the object name and then given the text, and it actually showing the result. Okay. Also the same for this person too. So for the apply method, same as call, but argument are passed as the array. You see, for this apply, argument are passing as an array. Okay. Bind method actually create a new function with this permanently bound, and what it does, this one. They introduce the John, the introduce dot bind. We are actually binding with the bind method with the person one, I mean this person object, and then when we call this function, I mean try to execute this function, this will show the greeting with the actual value. Okay, with the actual greeting, then comma, because this is the first argument, this is the second argument, and with this actually, so we get I am John is a second parameter. Okay, so no matter how we call it, this will always person one, right? Okay. Bind, actually bind is especially useful for solving that callback problem we saw earlier uh, in the user method like this user. Then we use this bind dot this. Remember this bind dot bind this keyword, and it actually fix the bind actually this to call back this function. And when we call this function, I mean we execute this function, it's return the mic like reading, mic likes gaming. Okay, good. Now the new binding. The fourth rule involves the constructor function and the new keyword. When you call a functions with the new, JavaScript creates a brand new object and set this to that new object. Okay, what it actually means? Just check. This is your object. This is your function. In this function, these dot bind. Remember, these dot brand, and then you are calling this brand parameter model with the model, and in this get info using the return with the execute the return this brand and the model, and then this is a function. We are using this new keyword. I mean new keyword, new binding keyword, and call the car and given a value. When you console log this car1 get info, we get the results. So when we use this new, here the what happened behind the scene. Actually, a new empty object is created initially, and then this is bound to that new object. This actually bound to this new object with this new with the help of this new object. The function executes with the this pointing to the new object. Okay, and the new object is returned there. It is written actually unless the function explicit returns something else. Okay, so that's why this new is important. These four scenario actually happen behind the scene. Okay, these also work with the ES6 classes, which are just synthetic sugar over constructor function. Okay, right now what we did, just use the function. uh, Maybe we already know that JavaScript is an object, all about object. We can use this without any issue, no problem. But these most of the time very effectively work with the classes, in the OOP, object-oriented programming, in the latest feature in ES6. And in this class, like this one, the class is the person. Then in this class there is a constructor and there is a method. This is a method, I mean the function is a method, and we call this construct in this constructor we call this. Okay, and when we are calling, actually we are using the class, so we must need to call this new keyword first for the instance, for instance, then calling the class name and getting the value, and I mean this set the value. And when we execute the person dot introduce, we get the exact result what we expecting. Okay. This is very interesting part for this new, and we are used to it when we do more practice. For function, we are regularly using in the future. For classes, it's depending. When we really necessary need, then we use this class with the new binding. Okay, so priority of binding rules. What happen if multiple rule apply? JavaScript follow this priority order. First is new binding, highest priority. Second is explicit binding, and in this explicit binding, call, apply, bind. These three method is important. Thirdly, implicit binding. I mean the method call. Fourth is default binding because default is the fallback, right? I mean the lowest priority. So this one, this is important. Remember this: first new, then implicit, then second is explicit, third is implicit, fourth is default. Let me show you an example. This is a great example for a beginner. Function, right? Uh, for this function, remember this is the function. We call the object, create object, new object, then implicit binding, the object one, object two, object, and then calling the binding create a hard binding. What it does, the display dot bind with the object one, and we call this object two. Okay, remember. So now, if you run this, you see object one call, object two call. Okay, then again calling the object one, not object two. Okay, object one, because this object one is the first priority. Okay, great. Remember this hierarchy when the debugging this issue. Okay, now the common solution. Let's look at this common scenario when this causes problem and how to fix them. uh, we are not cover up the event listener part right now, but just for now, you see this is the object, right? Counter object. In this counter object, there is a method increment or function, increment function. Okay. So what is happening? Initial problem is there. These refer to the button element. Remember, these refer actually button element, not the button object, and not the counter object. Okay, this actually button dot event listener. I mean, this event listener, when we click, the counter will be increased. Okay, this is the problem. So, and this is the solution. Second is this is the problem actually. The problem is these refer to the button element, not counter object. And this is the actual execution part. The button dot add button listener click counter increase. So this solution number one is arrow function wrapper. With this arrow function, I mean wrappering with the arrow function. Initially call this arrow function, then call the counter dot increment function. Then it solves this issue. These are not calling the immediately. Okay. And second is binding. Second solution is the binding. This one. This one is interesting. You see, when without arrow function, just calling the counter dot increment dot bind, and then calling the counter object. I mean this object. It's give you the result. Okay. Okay. Great. Now let's show the practical example. This is a real world example for timer and the object context. You see, this is the timer. In this timer, there is a function start. In this function, there is an interval, set interval callback. Need the correct this. Okay, and in this set interval, we calling this keyword and console log, and also binding with this set interval this and the 1000 millisecond is the actual second for delay. Okay, when we call this timer dot start, actually counts second correctly. Let's see. Okay, maybe we didn't. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4 ellipsed, right? It's calling properly, and it's not okay. Great, right? Okay, great. Okay. Uh, we have a more example, right? If we can also use the API response handler uh, with the method chaining. Yeah, method chaining. Uh, this is another example for real world example. Actually, this is the method chaining. You see, we have a builder. In this builder, there is a add space and build. Right? What we did. This is a method chaining. When we are using this builder dot builder is the actual object, right? This is your actual object. In this object, there is a method. Uh, this is a function. Okay, this is a function, right? But when we are using the any function in this object, it's called a method. Okay, I think we already know that when we use the dot notation and then call any function, it's called the method. This method, we there is in JavaScript, we are binding it just using the dot. Check the dot add, then dot space, and dot add again, then again the dot builder, and you get hello world without any issue. Dot space actually give you a space. Okay, and build. This is a very good example for beginners. So try to practice more. This example is really great. Okay, for debugging this, when debugging this issue, there are some helpful techniques like this one. The function console log, this is this type of this dot constructor dot name. Okay, then object, in this object there is a debug this, right, in calling this function. Then when you are calling this debug this, I mean execute this, you get the global function, global or undefined, because this is, you get the global out object. And when you call the object dot test, you also get the object, right? Then when you are binding with the call given a custom object, you get the custom object text. Okay, and when you use the new debug test, then you get new instance. Okay, so for pro tips, add a console log at the start of function to see what this is during the development. Okay, and this is the pro tips. So all right, let's recap what we have learned today. The this keyword referred to the execution context of a function. Its value is determined by how the function is called and not where it's defined. Okay. So in the next video, we will deep dive into a call, apply, and bind method, and you will master explicit binding completely. If this video helped you understand this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more JavaScript tutorial. Drop a comment if you have question. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.